Oh, what have we just witnessed? I've got no idea. Joel's here to break it down.
Corner he goes. It bounces in the vicinity of Carey. Magnificent! And that is clearly the goal.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Further North. What a crazy night of drafting. There's so much to talk about here. This episode is jam-packed. We've got my live reactions to the players being picked, and we've got Joel coming in right at the end to break down the trade and all the chaos that just went on. I'm still in a little bit of shock. It's like 11:30 at night. I can't believe I'm still up podcasting, but this is my life, I guess. New boom stand for those watching on YouTube, so I'm not having to hold the mics anymore. I know it looks a bit shonky. I'll fix it. I got it today. We'll figure that out. For those watching on YouTube, there's no video going to be for my reactions. I didn't film my reactions. I was in my living room. I didn't have a good space to set it up, and I looked stupid anyway. So you're not going to see that. I'm just going to put the thumbnail over the top with the waveform, but you've got the video now, and then when Joel is on at the end, you've got that video as well. So that is coming up. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about really quickly is about my reactions. Listening back to some of the reactions, I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I'm a little bit disappointed in how I reacted to our pick number 2, Finn O'Sullivan. Now, the justification for this is basically because my heart was hell-bent on getting a key forward. I really wanted Taru. I really wanted the trade back to get either Taru or Armstrong. And I think a key forward is the number one position of need for this club, basically. Now, listening back to my reaction, I definitely wasn't critical of Finn O'Sullivan as a player, but I think I was a little bit flat. Not disappointed is the wrong word, but I was definitely a little bit flat and defeated that we didn't get that key for which my heart was hell-bent on. I just wanted to say I'm super happy Finn O'Sullivan is here. None of my reaction is doubting him as a player, as a person, and I'm so stoked he's part of the North Melbourne Football Club. He's going to be a champion for us, and I'm really, really happy he's here. So welcome, Finn. My reaction is nothing personal at all. It's not that bad. I'm making it sound worse than it is. But look, I was just like, I wish I was more excited, and I was a little bit flat because I wanted that key forward. I wanted Taru. But hey, we didn't get him, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So apologies if anyone doesn't like my reaction to it. But hey, it is what it is. It's raw. I'm just putting it out for all you guys to see. And look, try to be not too critical, please. I would appreciate that. I'm super stoked that he's here. Welcome, Finn. And then my reaction to the trade and getting Matt Whitlock is, one that I was very excited but very confused at the trade. So, look, we get Joel on to break down that trade after we do the reactions. And just a spoiler, his thoughts on the trade are wild, to be honest. He's got some opinions. So anyway, that's worth sticking around for. But yeah, just wanted to give a little TBA on that and what's coming up in the episode. So look, any of my reactions, just chill. I was a little bit flat because it wasn't a key forward, but other than that, I'm super stoked Finn is here. So welcome, Finn, to the club. You're a shin boner. We love you, and I fully back you, my friend. Welcome, Matt Whitlock, as well to North Melbourne. At the end of the day, who cares about the numbers in the trade? We got a key forward, and we try and break all that down for you guys in this episode. So enjoy the reactions. They're coming up now. And then Joel is here to wrap it all up and give you his thoughts and break down what we just saw unfold in the draft. So here's the reactions, and you hear from him soon. Are these trade recaps popping up? I know you guys can't see this, you're just listening to me, but are these trade recaps all like happening right now? All right, we're looking at Clarko's in there. All the boys around, the fuzzy hair guy. Here we go.
With pick 2, North Melbourne select Finn O'Sullivan.
I'm super happy for Finn. I'm so happy. Look, I'm super happy for Finn, honestly. I hope he's a gun. I don't understand it from a list management perspective. I don't understand it from what our team needs. I feel so bad not being happy about it. Keith Gregg's out there. Oh, Finn O'Sullivan.
Classy player, a good runner, shifter, and
welcome to the club, Finn. Honestly, I'm trying to keep myself together here. This is an emotional time for me. Welcome, Finn, to the club. Not sure you can play full forward, mate. But look, hopefully we've got a gun and we've got a plan up our sleeve for a forward because, I'm worried. Hopefully he's a gun. So I guess no Simpkin or Powell in the midfield next year. Great. Awesome. Super happy we've got a young gun and this guy's highly touted, but Not super stoked that it's not a key forward. Where's Taru going to go? We can still make a trade. I'm looking at his highlights here. Yeah, scoreboard pressure, creativity. Yeah, good form at the bottom age. Yeah, I just don't understand where he could play and where he fits into the team, I guess. But I'll have less of an emotional reaction soon. We'll get on to Joel. He'll, teach me about the player and tell me it's going to be all okay. And we're going to talk to you guys. And look, I'll get my head around this over the next few days. But yeah, a bit confusing. Interested to see how you guys feel. Hopefully you understand my reaction. Welcome to the club, Finn. I hope you're an absolute gun and the premiership player, mate. Honestly, I really wish you the best, and I'll back you all the way. I'm just disappointed it wasn't a key forward for club need. So please don't replay this in years' time when he wins a Brownlow and a premiership. I do back you. Okay, they're saying on the broadcast that we might have just made a trade. I don't know what to think right now. I've been waiting for this pick 27. What are we trading for pick 27? I have absolutely no idea. If we're giving up a future first, which is going to be a top 5 pick, for pick 27, what else are we going to get? Jeez, this is going to be interesting. Trade is in. So we've traded a first round pick, which if it's not a top 5 pick, I'll be astounded. For pick 27 and a future second round pick. Oh, I've been waiting for a trade to happen for so long. And I don't Taru and Armstrong gone, Trainer gone. Jeez, this is going to be something that the media is going to absolutely shred us for unless the player becomes an absolute gun. Richmond's future second will be a good pick, but we've basically just given him a top 5 pick for next year.
With pick 27, North Melbourne select Matt Whitlock.
Matt Whitlock. A key forward. I'm happy. Which was the best Whitlock? Matt Whitlock, key forward. Olivia Rodrigo's playing in the background. Okay. Initial reaction. Thank God we got a key forward. And I think that's a positive. But geez, it's a lot to give up. Their future second will be good next year. All right, welcome to the club, Matt Whitlock. I'm excited. I always wanted the key forward. I've got my wish, but I don't know if it has come about the way that I wanted it to. Wow, a month-long grind of content from myself and Joel has led to this very moment. It's currently 10:30 at night after the draft. We're jumping on Zoom to get some reactions. I've recorded my live reactions and we'll put those out. But we've got a very defeated sounding Joel here and we're going to break it all down. How are you, mates? And what a crazy, crazy draft. A roller coaster of emotions.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me on, Josh, in such circumstances. It's been a real roller coaster. It was, after we picked up Finn Sullivan at pick 2, which after obviously Toomey sort of suggested that he was the best available at that point, and my general rule is best available, but I love Taru. I love the Saints hands, not for the Saints, but I would have loved both those players at us. And then my night was going okay. I'm just watching and saying, maybe North trade a future first for a couple of picks here and potentially, as you saw, Armstrong fall down the board a bit and Trainer fall down and then they both end up at Richmond after Richmond did some really weird things at pick 10 and 11. And then at the end of the night, I see this little, the trade is in. I'm like, what's this? It can't be us because we wouldn't be giving up a future first, arguably a top 5 pick for pick 27. And who were available at that time, I'm thinking maybe Jitlock or maybe Shanahan.
Yeah.
And then it's like you see North on it and I'm like, I know, I think this is us. And I'm anxious about what we've actually got here. And I'm like, maybe pick 27, 28 in a future second. And then it's pick 27 and a future second. I'm like, okay, that's heartbreaking for me. Other way to describe it. And then they call out the other Whitlock, Matt Whitlock. So I was a bit gutted, I'll be honest. just with losing a top 5 asset arguably next year.
Yeah.
You'll want to see big improvement this year for this not to be arguably a rort. But it'd be interesting.
Let's get into it. So let's go pick number 2. So I'm on record on this podcast being very keen on a key forward and being very against another midfielder. And I think the fan base as a whole, incredibly against another midfielder. Now, you've been telling me, especially the last 2 days, basically Finn O'Sullivan is getting taken by North Melbourne, and this sort of came on very, very late. I won't lie to you, and I've recorded my reactions to this, and I haven't put it out yet because I'm going to bundle it all in this podcast. A mixture of excitement because we got a very, very good young player, but disappointment is the wrong word, but almost a bit of feeling a bit defeated, almost like you are now, because I feel like we didn't get, at that time, a player in the position that we needed. So give us a bit of a rundown on Phil O'Sullivan. Finn O'Sullivan. So there's going to be a lot of North Melbourne fans out there who need convincing as to why this was the right guy to take at number 2. So if you've got a few sentences to give to the audience here, convince us all, and including me, this was the right pick.
It's definitely not the wrong pick is the way I'd put it. He's the best available. He was the best 15-year-old. He was the best 16-year-old when he was 16. And he was the best 17-year-old when he was 17. He had a down year this year due to injuries, and that's the only reason he probably didn't go number 1. We definitely know his character at the club as he was with us with the preseason. So we've got a really good insight into him as an individual. High impact player, extremely strong overhead. That's his best asset for me, is his ability to mark high. He'll come into our side round 1. He's arguably the highest ceiling in this draft. I think you could make strong points that he is. I really rate him. I love Taru, but I'm very happy. Like Foss, I can see why people would go Foss over him. He's like him available there at pick 2 when we probably had him at number 1 on our board, as in the team board. Makes a lot of sense. He's an elite midfielder, and he could potentially be the best player out of this draft in, 2 years, 3 years.
Where does he play in this team? So you're saying he's going to be a round 1 player. Are we putting him in that half-back role like we did with McKercher? Is he going straight into the guts? Is he going onto a wing? Where do you see him playing? And I guess who comes out of that team for him? Because I wouldn't assume Powell, Simpkin, obviously Parker, Wardlaw, Sheasel, and LDU, they're all going to be playing. So where does he fit?
I play him high half forward, or his ability to mark and his ability to, sidestep around. He'll be dangerous around that forward line, and he'll get pinch hits through the middle and move up the ground. It's hard to know exactly which players will come in for. There'll be players, obviously, that have great summers that will come out of nowhere, but then there'll be players that, might get past a bit more. Like I love Tom Powell in his position, but like a Will Phillips, for example, I'm thinking, there's much more upside to a Finn O'Sullivan, unfortunately, for Phillips than a Phillips. Yeah, there's a few players around that role. Our forward line, there's options in there to play, and depend on list, list balance and that kind of thing. I'd be shocked if he wasn't playing round 1, unless there's niggles and injuries, which have carried him over the summer. But otherwise, he'll be, he'll come in, he'll play. And I think it was a bit of almost a case of FOMO for North. We're just scared of missing on a guy that's got this massive upside, and he's there at our spot. We couldn't get extra value for that pick 2 that we wanted, so we've gone and taken what we believe is the best available, and good character. The club knows him very well. He wouldn't have gotten past Carlton, I don't believe, if we had have taken Taru. So all of those things, I think his upside's massive. I think I rate him. I think he had not a great year this year that reflected himself, but every year until then he's been the best player in this crop. It was just this year that he had a bit of a down year.
Yeah, okay. So what was his, and I forget this on the broadcast, what was his AFL player comparison to? Is this a player that you think we need or can utilise, or do we already have this sort of player? Because in the midfield, for me, I was a big component on Josh Smiley, that big body midfielder, and Alayla, who went first, is obviously another sort of big body player as well. if I was going to pick a midfield type to fit into our midfield, that is the sort of player that I would like. I struggle to sort of see exactly. I understand the upside and getting the best available talent, but why him? Is it just best available, or what sort of player can he be for us? Is he something we don't already have?
I think he's best available. I think the thing that he brings that we don't have hugely in the midfield is he's really strong overhead. Like his marking, if you watch his highlights particularly, his marking ability is elite. So I think he'll add a different. I don't think like George can mark it pretty well, but like Sheasel probably a little bit less so in those circumstances, other than sort of coming into the pack where Finn will do it a bit differently. His breakaway pace is really pretty elite. He does everything really well. Like you look at his testing numbers and, he's pretty much elite in everything. He was the only player I think that ran like a sub 3 second or 20 meters and a sub however many minute 2K. So he's got both aspects of the game. He does everything really well.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a real Swiss Army knife as a midfielder, I think. And I think he'll be very good for us. Like I'm not concerned with him as a player coming into the list. Like we'll find a place for that player with that much talent.
Yeah, okay. So you're happy with this pick overall, yeah? You're it's a tick from you, and you're not sitting there like a lot of North fans at the moment, and including myself in this, being very disappointed that we didn't go with a Taru or maybe find. And I know trades, it's not just find a way to make it happen, but for lack of a better phrase, find a way to make a trade down to get a more talented player in a key position that we need.
No, I mean, like, yet again, it always comes down to, like, for me, like my general rule, as I said last year, was best available with your first pick. I really love Taru. I really love his upside, but Finn as well. Like Finn's a different kind of player, but like, as I said, like he's been the best player for multiple years in this class. He fell down a bit this year because of just a couple of injuries, and nothing that's soft tissue. A lot of just fingers. I think was the first thing that he sort of went out with. He's got the assets to be a superstar in the league. His closest comp, I think, was strangely his cousin, which was Sam Walsh. A lot of people did that for him. And I think he has the ability, but I don't think he's as much of an accumulator, but he's a great finisher goal. He'll come in, he'll play really good footy for us. The worries about not picking up a forward at that point in a Taru, unless Taru explodes, which he won't explode early, he'll take him a little while. Finn O'Sullivan will make people very happy next year.
Okay. Well, look, welcome Finn O'Sullivan to the club. I think we've all got to get behind him now. And if we think a midfielder is the correct choice or not, regardless, he is in blue and white and we need to support him. So everyone get behind Finn O'Sullivan, send him a nice message, welcome him to the club, because that's the sort of club we are. So look, even people like me who definitely wasn't on my radar of what I would have maybe picked personally, regardless, he's a shin boner now. We need to get behind him. So welcome, Finn, and I hope you have a long, illustrious career. Premierships, Norm Smiths, Brownlows, all that sort of stuff. So please, it'll just take, and let me know if you agree with this, but the first time we see him play, if he does a little Colby run down the wing, I think all of our doubts, we're not doubting him as a player. I'm not doubting him as a player whatsoever, but all that anxiety that we didn't pick the right player will go away, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's he's one of the safest bets in this draft. I think as being a player, like even, like his sidestep and ability to move through traffic, he kicks goals. He's, very elusive, very good tackler as well, which I really love. Very aggressive at the ball. He plays big. There's a lot to like about him. Like there's a good reason that he was picked as high as he was.
All right. Let's go to the controversial one then. I think that's enough on Finn O'Sullivan. Let's talk some controversy. So we were messaging back and forth throughout the night. I was going through a complete roller coaster of emotion. It was very interesting how much I realized that I care about the draft, especially this year. Let me know if you felt the same. But as soon as Armstrong went off the board, Trainer went off the board, even Josh Smiley went off the board, it made me feel a bit defeated, a bit flat, because Richmond has just picked up 3 of the players I would have loved. In this draft, and it made me feel like we've had a very, very bad draft. And the mid pick 20s sort of the mid pick 20s came around, and I said, look, let's just get on the Zoom. We're not going to be doing anything. It's not going to happen. And then all of a sudden, the pick is has been it's getting traded to North. And I'm thinking, okay, can we trade a second rounder next year? And maybe we've sweetened it with something. What is this? Now, I think I've got a slightly different view to you on this. And in the moment, I definitely wasn't sure, but taking 30 minutes just to, do a little bit of research, have a think, calm down, have a cold shower. I think I can try and make some sort of reason out of this, but we already sort of gauged your reaction. But give us a little bit of a rundown on what you were going through at the time when you saw it come through, and what was your initial reaction?
To be honest, I was extremely gutted.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing against the player. I actually like the player.
Yeah.
It's more so a future first, which is potentially a top 5, probably likely a top 5 on all accounts.
Yeah.
For a pick 27 and the question you would have to ask is a player of that caliber available at pick 5 next year? And in my mind, yes. And I think there's also players that are of that caliber or could potentially be of that caliber a bit further back for better value. But the market is what it is, I guess. But no, Brady's made an extremely bold move.
Yeah.
Whitlock, I would be shocked if he plays next year at all. And I don't necessarily think he plays the year afterwards either. Just because, yet again, but that being said, if we draft someone in the same key position, it's not often that they come in first year. That's very rare. And he's also, I'll go through Whitlock a bit. He's 197 centimetre tall, played for Murray Bush Rangers, started as a key forward, moved to key position defender. So yet again, we're in a position where we've got someone who can do both, and I'm not exactly sure where we'll play him. He's got, pretty strong hand marking. He's been, I think it was they were saying on the broadcast as well, he's the Coates player of the season, or one of the Coates full back of the season or full forward of the season. I'm not sure which position he ended up being. He's got very high upside, a really high ceiling, I think, but it takes a long time for these players to develop. So let's next year, when inevitably our pick is being used by Richmond, not blame this fella for it either. Because
absolutely not.
We won't see the best of this guy probably for, 7 years, but we won't see him starting to probably senior football, I don't think, until 2-3 years. So, but yeah.
So as a player, let's not worry about. We'll get back into what we gave up and the value of that. But him as a player, why has North Melbourne selected him? If you think he is such a long-term prospect, is this the guy that's going to play twos for a couple of years, maybe get some sporadic games, and be that heir to the throne when Darling goes? Do you think he's that sort of player, or do you think he's more of a longer-term prospect? What do we do when Darling goes?
Darling's got a 3-year contract. This guy, you'd be wanting to come in at that point, but I'm not convinced they're going to be playing him as a forward either, because he finished his season as a key defender, which to me would suggest that we're moving Will Dawson as a key forward, which I prefer Will Dawson as a key back. But so I'm not sure which way they're going to go. They've got versatility with him. He's very raw. He's not as raw as when we drafted Ben Mackay, for example. He was far, far rawer. It took him, I think, 6-7 years before he was playing consistent senior AFL. Oh no, not 6 years, probably 4 years before he was playing consistent AFL. And I think Whitlock's more ready than him, so I think he'll come in earlier than Mackay did. But it'll still be that, it'll be a while for him to put on size to be able to compete with the big bodies.
Yeah, okay. So why Matt Whitlock? Do you think his brother's better?
Yes, personally. I think even on the broadcast, they sort of were a bit surprised that Matt Whitlock went before Jack Whitlock. I'm surprised that they didn't go his brother. I prefer Jack. That being said, Matt Whitlock has similar size, similar agility, similar thing. I just thought Jack was a bit more mobile around the ground. That being said, they've obviously seen something they like, and I think, if anyone can recruit key position players well and have a big say in it, Clarko seemed pretty happy in the room about it. We're getting a key position player. It's going to take a long time for them to develop. Even if we drafted one next year, arguably you're still looking at 2 years, except you've put yourself a further year behind. It's just the optics of trading out, arguably, let's say pick 5 for pick 27.
So let's have a look at I guess, at the value of the deal then. I guess the way I'm trying to look at this is, I think it's fairly safe to assume it's going to be a top 5 pick. The draft next year, I've heard, is heavily compromised. And I guess that doesn't really matter to a degree, because even if you end up getting pick, 8 or something like that, if there's a bunch in the top, whatever, there's a hypothetical here, not saying that's what's going to happen, but as a hypothetical. I guess you can still get those players you're targeting because we know where the academy players are all going to go. The way I try and look at this is, I guess, we traded pick 5 for what might be pick 27, and then maybe like pick 19, 20 next year. On paper, it doesn't fill me with joy, but if the draft this year is quite deep, and I guess is it all just dependent on how good Whitlock is as a player? And I guess it's hard, isn't it? Because if he's not going to play for a couple of years, we're really not going to know the value of this one for a while. Is there a way you can justify it in your head to be, maybe it's not as lopsided a deal as you initially thought? Because, Richmond are going to be bad. We're probably going to end up with pick 20 and 27 when you combine it over the 2 seasons, or around about there. Is there any way you can justify it as worthy before the players become the players they're going to be?
Personally, no. But the thing that, yet again, there's a lot of things to take into account with this. I mean, I hate the trade for us. It's one of the worst trades I've seen, in my opinion. That being said, like the only one that I would have comparison to would be when Giants traded out of or Collingwood traded out their future first to get into the second round, and that ended up becoming the pick that ended up becoming the Dacos bid came after that one that was in that draft. It's really hard to tell, because like the thing that North's obviously prioritizing is they want to have a group of play. The only way I would have had more value is if they had have added 28, 27 and we got pick 2 back, a future second back. That'd be, at least I could argue that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to, because there's the top 5 next year, I think, will be better than the top 5 this year. Because I don't think the top 5 this year were, with the exception of, like, I think Finn has a really high ceiling, but he had a down year, which is why he wouldn't, if he had have continued on his trajectory, arguably he would have been as good as any of the other mids, in my opinion. But I think the top end of next year looks better than this one. If we finished, I think we'd honestly need to finish probably either 10th or above for this to not look really bad next year. And I think next year at the draft, fans are going to be furious.
Yeah,
is my gut feel, because if we finish with a pick 3 and Richmond has pick 1, pick 3, and we have finished bottom again and near the bottom again and have nothing in the draft, and Whitlock won't be playing at that point, we're going to be like, the fans will be furious, and Rawlings has a lot to answer for in that situation.
Yeah. I guess there's always opportunity to trade back into next year's draft, because you can move future picks and things like that. And I think we have to, as a fan base, try and look at this as a long-term play. At the end of the day, we did get a position that we needed, regardless of position and worth, like value for the pick. At the end of the day, we've come out with, as someone you've said, could be the best midfielder in the draft, and probably our biggest hole that we need to fill in the team. There's an element of accelerating the rebuild as well, I think, and that's sort of what they hinted to on the broadcast as well. Was, I think there's a feeling around the club, and from what I've been hearing, that we're all expecting to jump a decent amount next year. Now, I'm on a believe it when I see it basis with North Melbourne at this point, but I'm probably as optimistic as, and I'm known as a bit more of a pessimist, especially compared to Marnie. But, everyone's a pessimist compared to her, which is go Marnie. But, I'm seen as more of that sort of person. And I think I'm expecting, I think these 3 players that we recruited are going to come in and do a lot more for us with their experience. And then, adding, O'Sullivan into that, and then filling a big void. I don't know. I think I can see the blocks coming together, but I think as a fan base, instead of overreacting too much to this, we need to look at, we did get everything we sort of wanted out of the draft. Yes, it wasn't ideal, and will it compromise next year's? Potentially, yes, unless we trade back into it somehow, because there's always moves to be made. But I think that's the way we've got to try and look at it for now to keep our positivity up. We've had a pretty good off season in general. I mean, before the trade period, if you said we're getting Parker Darling and Daniel with a small forward in Constanti thrown in, I think we all would have said that's an A grade for a trade period. And then we'd be getting, one of the best mids and a really good key forward prospect. Would have been pretty happy as well. And I know it's probably not ideal how it came around, but at the end of the day, we do have those things now. We got those assets. It's going to be an extra year developing Whitlock compared to someone else in a year or two's time. So that's the way I'm trying to look at it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a very optimistic way to look at it.
I'm trying here, mate. Come on, give me something.
That is the optimistic way to look at it. I mean, like as I said, we'll get a year of development into Matt Whitlock. I mean, like for me, it's going to sound like a bit of a strange one to compare now. I'd love to somehow trade back in and get Jetlock, his brother, just because I like the idea of having twin towers that are brothers in the side. The issue is that I said like our future first, we should have been wanting at least 27, 28 and a future second. But, we've got that hand now. But if we can get back in and get our Jack Whitlock, I'd be happy. Richmond's going to trade out their first pick next week, tomorrow, probably to Essendon, Geelong, maybe a West Coast. There's a few players on the board, so there's a chance that move could happen, but I'm assuming that would cost probably 2 future seconds. So we don't want to give up out of next year.
Yeah, we don't want to give up too much, I guess, to be completely out of the draft, do we? I mean, is there a way would you do that for North Melbourne? Would you give up a future second or something like that for next year to get the other Whitlock?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would, because I think number one, I like his upside a bit more.
Yeah.
That being said, like I also like the idea of having the brothers at the club. I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
And just neat, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was an interesting night to watch. I was a bit gutted, as I said, like when Trainer went off the board and when Armstrong went off the board, and it was an interesting night though to watch. Like interesting one.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I said Matt Whitlock is going to take. So for the fans, obviously out there, it's he will take a couple of years. He's less raw than a lot of the players that we had in that. Like last draft, like Will Dawson was more raw than him in my opinion, and so was Taylor Goad. It was more raw than him.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little while, but he's got a lot of assets. You can't teach 197 centimeters.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I guess playing. Look, I know he can swing both ends of the ground, but predominantly playing a key forward role. I feel like it's been a while since we've drafted somebody that is, predominantly a key forward instead of being more of a swingman or drafting a defender, that's gone forward like a Toby Pink or a Will Dawson or someone like that, or even a Teakle who's maybe a ruckman that can go forward. I feel like it's the first time in a while we've got a guy who's, I would say, is hopefully played forward for most of his football playing life. So I feel like that's a good thing, and I think that's something that we need to focus in on. I mean, look at me trying to be the positive one here, which is a very, very interesting role reversal. But look, I'm also one to, and I'm not going to apply this to this scenario here where we've given up, our future first for this, but I try and liken it to what I said about the Caleb Daniel deal where, in the grand scheme of the AFL, is giving up pick 25 for Caleb Daniel overs? Yeah, probably. But to North Melbourne, it's not, because we don't need more, 18-year-olds picked in the top 20 or 25 to take a few years to develop. We need players who are here now. And that, I think, is, for pick 25 being held by North, I think that's worth it for us. Would Collingwood ever do that? No way. Or would Carlton do that? No way. But, North Melbourne is in a different position. And I'm sort of trying to liken it to all of that. And yes, we gave up a lot, but do we need more like top 5 talent on the list when we've got, Wardlaw, Sheasel, Dersma, Colby? I mean, I know Will Phillips won't be top 3 quality, but, we do have these guys, and with the upside of, a Curtis, and we do have a star in Larky and Jerry and LDU and that sort of stuff. Do we really need another top 5 when we can get that key position right now. And I see it from both sides. This isn't me trying to convince you because I know that the value isn't there. But if he does come on and is good, then we're not going to care anymore. The thing I'm worried about the most is the media criticism and the Kane Corns SEN clip that I'm going to be thrown when I open my Facebook or Instagram or something, saying how pathetic North Melbourne are. So North Melbourne fans, brace yourself for that and just ignore it. But do you think that's a decent way to look at it as a fan, is to try and be like, look, for North Melbourne, it's probably worth it, even though in the grand scheme of the AFL, it's a bit of a ludicrous deal. But for us, I can see it working.
I'm not quite as ambitious as that on this one. It's more so just the value around it, because like the future first, I think, is worth more than a pick 27. That, like, the way you could also look at it from a draftees or a trader's perspective is, we gave up pick 29, which is currently pick 29, and we would have been able to get Matt Whitlock at that pick for Caleb Daniel. So arguably, in a roundabout way, it's Caleb Daniel for a future first.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'd never even thought to spin it like that. There's a lot of spin on that one, mate. But yeah, okay. So why did we do it? If it was up to, like, give us your thoughts on this, because I'm trying to think about why did North do it. And the only way I can think about it is they either see something in him, but we're never going to know that. I mean, they're going to come out and say, oh yeah, we see something in him, and everyone's going to say that. But the only way I can spin it is we're accelerating the rebuild. Is there any other reason why?
Well, they definitely, the club has definitely had this idea of getting a group of young players similar time frame. So over the past 3 years, we've brought in a lot of significant talent. And this year, like, Matt Whitlock's a very talented player. You're bringing all these guys in a short period of time, and they're going to grow together as a core. So, like, in that group, if you step back and take away the numbers of the picks, you've got Zane Dersmer, who's a high half forward that can go through the middle, elite hands, great mark. You've got Taylor Goad, which is a 5-year prospect in reality, 208 centimetre, elite traits. Matt Whitlock, who finished the season as a key position defender, nearly 200 centimetres, great set of hands. You've got Will Dawson, 200 centimetres, great set of hands, extremely great athlete. Kirch, Braden George, and George Wardlaw and Arch and all these guys. They're all within 3-4 years of each other. This is the core group now. I think we've put our stamp on it. This is the core group now that needs to take us to the next flag and to the promised land. And these guys are going to take probably three years together. And these drafts might be the reason that we're winning premierships. And that's what's actually to get really excited about, is that group. That's why we've done it, is we want this group really close together so that we can have a big, strong core. Drafting a key position forward next year will delay everything by 1 year in reality. And key forwards take a long time to develop. So the exciting part for us is, like, take away the picks numbers and that. Whitlock is the opposite end to what we're going to have from a Will Dawson. In 2-3 years, those guys are going to, everything going well and developing well. 2-3 years, we've got bookends now. Like, Will Dawson will be a 200 centimetre elite athlete, I'm hoping defender. And Matt Whitlock will be a 200 centimetre, very athletic forward. And that's going to be bookends, Goad in the middle. We've actually drafted really well around positions, a bit better than we think we have, I think. We've got a lot to go forward with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, regardless, like you said, take away the numbers of the picks and everything, we've drafted our spine for sure. And I'd say what we're hoping is going to be our spine, looking through the middle with, Dawson, Comben, Larkey, Whitlock, Sherry, Goad, all those key positions. With it, you throw a Dersmer in there. I mean, Zerha's got a bit of height around him. Griffin Logue's going to be there for plenty more years and all that sort of stuff. And there's that spine of key position players. And then, we don't even have to chat about our midfield and the quality that's got. Then, Archer, Goda, Hardiman, all those sort of players down there. Dersmer up in the forward, like Curtis, maybe that small forward role, Constanti can do something, but I guess we don't have that Cozzy Pickett-esque type forward, but that's something we'll still be looking for. But I think you can pick those players up. If you can find them easier than maybe you can find key positions. I think that's a good way to maybe end it on for the fans here, is that we really have built a core of players that are going to be coming through together. And even if we don't like the value, and even if we don't like exactly the picks that we swapped or the numbers of the picks or whatever, whichever way you want to spin it, we've got a core of young, talented players. We did get a big key position player, 200 centimetre, almost 200 centimetre key position player to fill what I would say is our biggest hole in the team. With a young, talented key forward. So I think that might be a good way to end it there, Joel, because we've ended on a positive. But I even listening to you speak before, and the way I'm sort of trying to think about it now, and some of the messages I've already got from some of the listeners is, the comment sections are pretty toxic right now. Go in and bat for these players. Back Finn O'Sullivan. Let's back Whitlock. And look, at the end of the day, it's just numbers of picks. And I understand there's values, and it is what it is. We've done it. So if you like it or not, too bad, because that's what we've done. Even if, there is questions to be asked about it. And I'm very interested to hear Brady Rawlings' assessment of it all, even though, of course, they're going to say they did all the right things. There's another day to look at tomorrow, and we'll see what unfolds. And look, depending on what happens tomorrow, if anything of note, maybe we get you back on really briefly. But this is basically your shift for the year done now, mate. We've done draft. You put your feet up for 11 months, mate, and we'll hear from you next October.
Yes, well, probably not as much at the moment with the way it's gone, but one less pick, but 2 seconds, who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Look, I'm trying here, mate. I'm trying to get all the fans up and about.
It's a good one.
Yeah, no, that is true. You can go put your feet up now. Your podcast duties for the year are done.
Done.
You can go get yourself a margarita, put your feet up, and watch Whitlock in the preseason kick 6 in his first practice match, and we're all thinking, oh my God, we've just drafted the next
geniuses.
Yeah, geniuses. Brady Rawlings is living in 2045, mate. He knows exactly what's going on.
Sounds good.
Anyway, look, let's leave it there, mate. Thank you for coming on. I'm sure we'll hear from you at some point if something crazy happens. But if not, always appreciate you being part of the podcast, mate. Your insight is unmatched. And look, we'll sign you up for next year again.
Yeah, well, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me, guys.